Hi everyone. I just had a wonderful conversation with one of my clients, and we were covering the topic fundamentals of the Enneagram. And I kind of came to the realization that everything that has got to do with the Enneagram and how it is positioned in the world, and how it is talked about, how it is perceived, is kind of wrong. I'll tell you why. Basically, when we encounter the Enneagram, it is all about 9 types having their own expressions and kind of having their own needs and expressing a certain way. So when you know someone's type, you can more or less expect kind of, or not even expect is a wrong word in this case. You can kind of take into account what is important to them, right? You can take into account what they're dealing with. You can take into account their worldview, if that is the better one, right? You take into account their worldview and how they can perceive your message. That is one of the most fundamental things that is shared. Sure thing. But we are not being said upfront. The core idea about the Enneagram is that when we encounter the Enneagram, there is one fundamental piece that should be taken into account. All the descriptions that you see, all the things that are present there in the vast mass of what the type is about, is from a place of an average development level. On the Enneagram, there are 3 development levels. There is healthy, average, and unhealthy. The healthy one is where you learn to satisfy your needs without everyone around you. The average level is where most of the society is on, is the same thing that was from childhood, is where you've learned to satisfy your needs against the society. It's basically you depend on the other person or the other people around you to satisfy your core needs. And this way was okay when we were children, right? We fully depended on our family, fully depended on the people around us, and we learned to satisfy our needs, take into account that they are the source that provides us, right? They help us to take care. They help us to satisfy those needs. But now, when we are older, right, we basically are already adults, right? And when we are adults, we have to be self-reliant. We cannot expect our mothers to wipe our butt. We cannot expect our fathers to feed us. We know that we have to kind of deal with life ourselves. Now, all of the descriptions of the Enneagram, they are based on the average level of being. This is a level where we have reactions to our surrounding in a way that is kind of satisfying needs, or it isn't. Is that social interaction in line with what we expect in terms of satisfying our needs, or it is against? Therefore, we react to counterbalance it. Now, the right way how to perceive the Enneagram is with one nuance in mind, is that the Enneagram is a tool for personal development, is a tool to outgrow your unconscious conditioning, your unconscious patterns, and take conscious ownership of who you are and what you do and what you think of, how you behave. It is a development tool. Now, for it to be really a development tool, we have to get to the core understanding of what Enneagram stands for. And that is basically the core idea. You have the core need in your specific type. That core need sprouts out and kind of develops a series of smaller needs that are all in line with your core need. And based on that core need, there is the thing. All the patterns that are in the books, online, everywhere that you read, the majority of them, as in general, will be on average levels. So these are patterns that we do deploy, but unconsciously. And the reason for them to be is to satisfy our unconscious needs. Now, when we learn our need, let's take an example, type 5. For type 5, their core need is to have security And to have security, they need to be competent because they have a fear of being incompetent, being incapable. And basically that is countered by a motivation to be competent and be wise and knowledgeable, because that was the main source of our perception when we were younger, to actually get that security and get the feeling that we are needed and we are able to cope. Now, all the descriptions about the fives, about them being a type that is withdrawn, being a type that is emotionally detached, being an intellectual type, being a type that needs a lot of time alone, all of these are correct on an average level. These are correct for the person who is not in the space of personal development, who is not working on understanding their patterns and what do they mean in life, how they impact and driving change. It's not about them. It is about a person who is living an automatic life and understanding what they are living through based on their core need. Now, knowing that core need, we start to reflect. Okay, ask yourself a question. Look at all the descriptions of the type. Look at the core need and ask how that expression in your life, if you say that it is present, that is about me, how is it satisfying your core need? That would be the biggest point of personal development that you can get out of the Enneagram. And I believe that it's not talked enough. I believe that the majority of ways how people look at the Enneagram is as simple as, this is the type and this is how they are. And learn how you are. But that's how you are is not the truth. It's not your real you are, you know? It's the not self. It's the defense mechanism that you've developed to keep yourself alive. It's a defense mechanism that you've developed to satisfy your need. But you have to remember, you've grown up, you became wiser, right? You've learned a lot of things. You've developed a lot of new competencies. You've outgrown your inability to handle life by yourself. Now, let's start moving into the direction of believing in ourselves and looking for ways how can we really start to appreciate ourselves as much as we possibly can, to believe that our core need is we're perfectly able to satisfy it by our own means. So that is the idea I wanted to share today. If you have any additional questions or you want me to expand on anything I shared in this video, comment below. I'll be waiting for you.